I want to welcome Superintendent Dr. Jose Gonzalez as we continue our Futuro on how COVID-19 is affecting the planning for our children to continue their education this fall. And our FuturoRGV moderator, Felipe Salinas, will continue our look at these plans for the schools in McAllen ISD. And again, I want to thank our FuturoRGV sponsors who help bring these discussions to you. And now I want to remind you that these discussions and those of other Valley leaders will be on the FuturoRGV Facebook page, YouTube, and social media for further viewing. And, and now, Felipe, I will turn this over to you and Dr. J. Gonzalez to help us understand what we are learning to cope with the COVID-19 pandemic now. Felipe?
Thank you, Nedra. And thank you, Dr. Gonzalez, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Great. Well, we're really happy to have you with us. As Nedra mentioned, we've just from Dr. Carol Perez, so now we'd like to hear perspective from one of our other larger school districts here in the Valley, McAllen ISD. Dr. Gonzalez, let me begin by asking you, we know that McAllen ISD has approved plans for the start of the fall 2020 semester. So can you just give us some highlights of what was in instruction and maybe a little bit about what it means for teachers and staff?
Yes, sir. After the order was put out by Dr. Melendez out of the county, we quickly had to maneuver from what we call our stage 2, which was going to give parents a choice whether to send their children to school or not, to stage 3, which was going to keep all kids home and all staff home. So at this point, that's where we are. We're planning for the fall with regard to virtual instruction for 100% of our students. Our teachers will be teaching from their homes. All of our workers will be working from their homes as well, remotely. And we do have some essential employees that will be running our food program that will continue coming to work because that's important, nutrition and feeding our community. So that's where we are at this point.
Okay, great. And as far as the feeding programs, can you just touch on that? Will meals are going to be delivered to the campuses, or is there another means that they're going to be distributed to the
Yeah, we'll have some meals on campuses, and then we'll also have some meals on wheels throughout the community so that families, they're already accustomed. We kept our feeding program running through the spring and through the summer. We know that nutrition is very important, and kids that are hungry don't learn. So we wanted to make sure that all of our students had a nutritional meal that could benefit them for breakfast and lunch. And we were able to do that. So we're looking forward to continuing that.
Yeah, I remember on one of my occasional forays out of the house these last couple of months, I saw the school buses parked in certain locations. So great. Can you tell us a little bit about, so in addition, now we know that all instruction will be remote starting, on the first day of school, which is August the 24th. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is the first day of class instruction going to be the 24th? Okay. Can you tell us what measures McAllen ISD will take to ensure the health and safety of students and staff when they do return, or at least some of them or all of them, return to in-person instruction in the classrooms?
Yes, sir. The good thing is that we learned a lot in the spring. And one of the things that's been very beneficial to us is the antimicrobial agent called Gold Shield that we used. It's a mist that we spray throughout our campuses and facilities, and it has a life of approximately 2 weeks, and it kills bacteria and viruses. So that's one. And then we'll do our deep cleaning and make sure that all of our doorknobs and all of our high points where people walk through are cleaned on a regular basis. With regard to people coming back, facial covers and masks will be used. And when we come back, we're looking at having the hybrid model where parents will have a choice whether to send their kids to school or not when we get there. So we're anticipating not having 100% of our students in the building. So that'll help as we get adjusted to it. But it's more just about deep cleaning and really changing habits and practices as we have learned as a community with regard to social distancing and facial coverings and washing our hands and things of that sort. So working very hard to make those habits consistent with our students and staff.
Okay, Great. And as far as social distancing is concerned, just a quick follow-up. I imagine in some campuses that might mean finding additional spaces for instruction. I guess it's hard to say until you know how many kids are actually going to be coming back in person, but I assume that that's happening also.
Yes, we're going to utilize all of our space. All the square footage is being looked at right now, and we're going to try to be as creative and innovative as we can as we recreate our educational space.
Right. Dr. Gonzalez, we know, of course, that in the Valley, we have the digital divide is a very big and pervasive issue here in the Valley in terms of not a lot of families not having access to internet, not having equipment and so forth. So a large percentage of the students in the Valley have limited internet service or other obstacles related to technology. Can you tell us a little bit about what McAllen ISD is doing to assist them for this fall?
Yes, fortunately for us, we've been a one-to-one district for going on 10 years now. So all of our elementary students have iPads, and students 6th through 12th grade have Chromebooks. So the hardware side is taken care of, and we're very good in that area. What we're doing right now is, it's very preliminary, but we're working with the city of McAllen, and we're working with the county so that we can leverage some dollars through TEA in working together to create a situation where every student in our district would have a hotspot. We're not there yet, but we feel very confident that we will be in the near future, so that connectivity won't be an issue for any student across our city as we provide virtual instruction. So the hardware is there, and we should have 100% of our students with hotspots.
Okay, great. And are you, for example, have you done any kind of surveys to determine which families need the hotspots or which ones don't? Because perhaps not every family needs them.
We have, but our philosophy is we don't want to worry about bandwidth. So regardless of what provider you have or how much bandwidth you have in your household, we don't want that to be an issue. So if you have a high plan with a lot of connectivity, it's not going to impact you. Or if you have a low plan because your child is going to have their own connection. So we didn't want speed to be an issue, and we didn't want connectivity to be an issue. So we're not, whether you need it or not, you're going to get one.
Okay, so it's similar to on the hardware side with the district for several years already, that having a one-to-one program, and it's in essence a one-to-one program as far as hotspots are concerned.
That's right.
Okay, great. So, kind of looking ahead a little bit, well, actually looking back first. So the pandemic has forced every sector of our community to navigate uncharted waters and learn how to fulfill our missions in different ways. So what would you say is the biggest lesson that you've learned in your role as superintendent over the last few months?
A couple of things. The first is just that teachers are in a new frontier right now, like all of us are, but they're in the front line. So the big lesson there is to listen to your teachers. Great schools and great districts have great teachers. So really get their perspective, give them the tools that they need, have empathy and flexibility with regard to what their needs are and what their wants are. And that's one of the reasons they're teaching from home right now. We want to keep them safe. The other is that it's not one entity or one person that can make this happen and get through this. It takes everybody. So continuing to work with our city. We're blessed to have a wonderful relationship with our Mayor Jim Darling, with our city manager, Roy Rodriguez, Chamber President Steve Alanias, Keith Patrick at the McAllen Economic Development Corporation, Judge Cortez at the county. Just, it's a blessing to have strong relationships with all these people. And the lesson is for us to continue to leverage our resources, for us to continue collaborating and synergizing, so that in the end, our collective effort and our collective resources can put us in a position to get through this faster than we could on our own.
Okay, great. And I'm sure, as you probably are in conversation with your peers, superintendents through various organizations, associations, as you all are trying to navigate all of this. So looking ahead, what do you think are some of the longer term implications of these past few months for public education in our K-12 schools? And what do we as a community or state need to address in terms of either policy or operations to ensure we're better prepared to face similar situations in the future?
A big part of it is what I just mentioned, just the synergy between the city, between the county, between the state, and even the federal government, and just continuing to work together. I think that's the biggest takeaway. And then the other is to understand that moving into the future, I think that this has really transformed the way that we're not only going to live as human beings, but also the way that we're going to teach and learn in the public sector of public education. So it's really honing in on ensuring that we have connectivity like we're talking about, that we have the hardware necessary, that we're able to be strategic in our meetings. And although at some point we come back together into the brick and mortar, that I foresee that there's still going to be a lot of this. We're going to try to avoid getting large groups together if we can, even when we're back in the building. Team meetings, grade level meetings, meetings with my executive leadership team. A lot of that will continue to happen remotely, just so that we see how far we can get into this new frontier of living, and then prepare for future situations. But the other is just to spread this I guess this love across our community, this sense of hope, this sense of togetherness, this sense of everything's going to be okay. It's just going to take some time, and it's going to take some effort. I think the world right now needs healing, and people need to hear good news, and all of that's based on love and positive energy and things of that sort. So really just self-regulating as individuals to work together so that we can come out of this stronger. But it's going to take a mindset as individuals, and then us coming together to push us through and prepare us for the next challenge.
Wow. Okay. Well, I think that's a great note to end on. As Nedra mentioned, we'll probably be recircling back with some of our leaders in a few weeks after, especially if things begin. We do go back to some kind of normal and so on. So it'd be great to hear back from you as to what's happening with McAllen ISD. Then thank you very much for being with us today and for this conversation. So I'll turn it back.
You're very welcome.
Oh, great. Thank you. Nedra?
And thank you, Dr. J. Gonzalez, and thank you, Felipe Salinas. And with that, we'll tell you to keep checking the FuturoRGV Facebook page and social media, and we will have more of these great community leaders that help us to go into the future. Thank you.